Good morning Year 6. I am very excited to be baking some cupcakes with you today. Cake is one of my favourite foods, so I'm very excited and hope to see all the cupcakes that you are baking. The ingredients you're going to need for your cupcakes are 100 grams of caster sugar, 100 grams of butter or cooking margarine, 2 eggs, and then 100 grams of self-raising flour if you can find it. If not, I'm going to use 100 grams of plain flour and 2 teaspoons of baking powder and hope that that works. You could use gluten-free flour. I'm going to show you how to make 2 different sorts of icing. So one uses icing sugar and water and the other one uses icing sugar and butter. And then you've got some decorations. So you can decorate these with whatever you like, any leftover Easter chocolate, or you can just leave them with the icing. Your first job is to use your scales to weigh out the 100 grams of butter and 100 grams of caster sugar into a bowl. Now if you've got an electric whisk or a food processor or an actual cake mixer, you can use this, but I am going to be doing this by hand. So after you've weighed out the butter and the sugar, you then need to cream it. So you just need to mix it together. So you could do this in a food processor or a cake mixer, but you just need to mix it all in. You need to make sure that your butter is nice and soft and keep mixing for about 5 minutes. So we then need to crack our eggs in. We're going to do this one at a time, really carefully so you don't get any shell in. And then just start, if you are using a cake mixer, start it off on a slow level so you don't get cake mix all over your ceiling. And if at any point it does start to look like it's splitting, like curdling a little bit, you can just add a little bit of your flour, so don't worry. So add 1 egg, and when it's fully mixed in, you can add the other egg. So our eggs are fully mixed in now, and I've just measured out the flour, and we're going to add the flour gradually and fold it into the mixture. So when we fold, we want to be making sure it gets lots of air into it. If you've got a sieve, you could sieve it in as well. And because mine is plain flour, I've added the baking powder in as well. So you've folded it in, you can draw a figure of 8. You make sure you're getting lots and lots of air into your mixture. So after all the flour is mixed in and it's at a dropping consistency, you can add anything you'd like into it this time to flavour it. You could add vanilla, you could add chocolate chips, lemon, you can be really creative with your mixture, or you can just leave it plain. And we are now ready to put it into our cupcake cases. So I filled my tin with cupcake cases, and then I'm just going to take a tablespoon of mixture and use a teaspoon to make sure I get all the mixture off, and then you're going to fill them up so they're about 3/4 of the way full. So I've filled up the cupcake cases so they're about 3/4 of the way full and as even as possible, and they are now ready to go into the oven on 180 degrees Celsius for about 15 minutes to start with. So with cooking the cakes, if you put them in for 15 minutes and don't open the door for that time, and then at 15 minutes you can open them out if you need to turn them around. They might be done after that time. Every oven is different. You might need to turn them around for another 5 minutes. Whilst we're waiting for them to cook, they will need to cool properly, but we can take some time to make some icing. So I'm going to show you some butter icing and some water icing. For the butter icing, in a bowl I've measured out 100 grams of icing sugar and 50 grams of butter. Now your butter needs to be soft. Mine was out of the fridge, so I put it in the microwave just for about 10 seconds to just make sure it's room temperature, and then you're just going to mix it together. The only thing I would say when mixing your butter icing is just be really careful, because you won't be able to see it puffs up everywhere and can make a massive mess. But just keep mixing it in really carefully. When it gets to this consistency, if it's still a little bit tough, you can just add a little bit of milk and mix it in, and it'll be easier to spread on your cupcakes. You can make this vegan just by changing the butter to margarine. We then have our butter icing ready to go, ready to put onto our cakes. And at this stage you can also flavour it. You can flavour it with vanilla, tastes so good with vanilla, or lemon, or you can even make it chocolate. So for the water icing, I've just weighed out 100 grams of icing sugar and just very gradually just add a little bit of water and then mix it all in. You want to do this really slowly because it's really easy to make it too runny. And then mix it in and then add more water, just a few drops at a time. We've now got both of our types of icing, and we can also add some food colouring to it to make it nice bright colours. So they will be ready when you can put a skewer in and it will come out completely clean, and they are soft to touch. They haven't risen quite as well as if we had self-raising flour, but I think it's pretty good considering the circumstances. You then need to put them on a cooling rack to cool down. They need to be completely cool before you ice them, otherwise your icing will melt. So I have decorated my cupcakes. You might notice that there are now 8 instead of 9. I did tell you that I love cake. You can decorate them however you like. You can make them bright colours, look fantastic, and then you can share them. Maybe you could share them with a neighbour, leave them on a friend's doorstep, or enjoy them as a family. Please let me know how you get on with making your cakes. I'm sure they'll be delicious however you make them, and I'm sure they'll look fantastic. Send me lots of pictures and have lots of fun and enjoy your cake.